In a world that cries out for quick fixes and shortcuts to success, it is easy to get lost in methodologies and techniques that promise immediate results but often prove to be superficial and ephemeral. The incessant search for fulfillment, be it professional, personal, or financial, leads us to explore a sea of often contradictory advice that leaves us more confused than empowered. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the avalanche of information on productivity, self-development, and prosperity, questioning which path truly leads to fullness and lasting satisfaction? The truth is that, amidst so much noise, many of us neglect a fundamental principle, a solid foundation that, when established, not only illuminates our journey, but also strengthens it in an unshakable way. This text does not seek to offer another magic formula or a get-rich-quick scheme. Instead, it proposes a profound reorientation of perspective, an invitation to explore the idea that putting God first, far from being a mere act of religious devotion, can be the most intelligent and effective strategy to unlock authentic and sustainable success in all spheres of your life. The perspective presented here distances itself from the traditional view that separates the spiritual from the pragmatic, the sacred from the secular. Brian Tracy, a revered name in the universe of personal and professional development, frequently emphasizes the importance of universal principles that transcend specific beliefs and apply to any individual in search of excellence. Our specific focus lies in demystifying the association between faith and passivity, revealing how an intentional and conscious approach to prioritizing the divine can, paradoxically, boost action, clarity, and effectiveness in our endeavors. The dilemma many face is the feeling of struggling alone, of carrying an excessive weight on their shoulders, without a reliable guide or a sense of greater purpose to motivate them beyond tangible rewards. This perception of isolation and the difficulty in finding a direction can lead to frustration, burnout, and a sense of stagnation, even with continuous effort. What is often missing is not the energy or the ability, but the activation of a higher power that can be accessed through conscious prioritization. This journey aims to unveil how this prioritization is not an act of renunciation or passive waiting for divine intervention, but an active commitment to a set of values and principles that, when lived, create a robust foundation for success. It is the understanding that by aligning our actions and decisions with a greater purpose, we discover an inexhaustible source of motivation, wisdom, and resilience. The journey we will begin together is not about dogmas or doctrines, but about the practical application of a principle that, if understood and integrated, has the power to radically transform the way we approach our challenges and celebrate our victories. Prepare to reevaluate your definition of success and to discover how the simplicity of putting God first can be the master key to unlocking your maximum potential, opening paths to a future of true achievements and a positive impact that resonates far beyond your immediate expectations. The proposal is clear: to transcend superficiality and embrace a profoundly effective strategy. By prioritizing the Creator, we are not just delegating tasks or waiting for miracles. We are, in fact, reconfiguring the very compass that guides our decisions. Think of the constant demands that present themselves daily: tight deadlines, interpersonal conflicts in the workplace, the pressure for financial results, and the need to balance professional and personal life. In these moments of tension, an individual who consciously elevates their connection with the divine tends to access an intrinsic serenity, a mental clarity that allows them to discern with more acuity which action is the most prudent and effective, instead of reacting impulsively to apparent chaos. This prioritization manifests in an enhanced personal discipline, not imposed from the outside, but cultivated from within, stemming from a sense of greater responsibility that extends beyond worldly obligations. Consider, for example, the scenario of a complex business negotiation. Instead of focusing exclusively on aggressive, short-term gain tactics, someone who puts God first may be led to seek solutions that benefit all parties involved, guided by integrity and justice. This collaborative and ethical approach, far from being a weakness, often results in stronger and more lasting partnerships built on mutual trust. The strategy here is not to be nice to the point of being exploited, but to operate with a standard of moral excellence that, paradoxically, attracts more opportunities and builds a legacy of respect and admiration. It is the intelligence of acting with immutable principles in a volatile world. Additionally, this spiritual priority acts as a powerful antidote to the paralysis of indecision and the fear of failure. When our goals are aligned with a purpose that transcends our own existence, the idea of losing takes on a new dimension. Failure ceases to be an end of the line and becomes instead a learning step, a valuable opportunity to refine strategy and strengthen perseverance. The confidence that emanates from this connection with the divine empowers us to make bold decisions, to take calculated risks, and to persist in the face of the most insurmountable obstacles, knowing that there is a greater force that sustains and guides us, even in the deepest moments of uncertainty. Another crucial aspect stems from how this prioritization shapes our interactions and relationships. By approaching people with a spirit of service, humility, and genuine compassion, qualities inherent in a God-centered life, we establish deeper and more meaningful connections. This translates into more cohesive teams, a more harmonious work environment, and a robust support network that proves invaluable in times of adversity. Instead of nurturing rivalries, we cultivate collaboration. Instead of judging, we seek to understand. This transformation in interpersonal dynamics not only enriches social life, but also enhances collective performance, as trust and mutual respect are powerful catalysts for innovation and productivity. Unshakable resilience in the face of adversity is another crucial facet that emerges from the practice of putting God first. Operating distinctly from the strategic clarity already discussed, when life's storm intensifies, be it an unexpected financial crisis, a painful personal loss, or a devastating professional setback, the ability to rise again is not merely a character trait to be developed, but a direct fruit of a reliable connection to a source that transcends human finitude. It is not about denying the pain or difficulty of the moment, but about anchoring oneself in something greater than the circumstance itself. This spiritual anchor allows a person to navigate turbulent waters without being swept away by the current of despair. The life force that emanates from this divine priority does not operate as an impenetrable shield against suffering, but as an internal reservoir of hope and perseverance that is revealed when repeatedly accessed. Visualize, for example, an entrepreneur who, after years of hard work, sees their business collapse due to uncontrollable external economic factors. Instead of succumbing to bitterness and self-abuse, they find in their faith a source of renewal. This faith, lived as the highest priority, does not prevent them from feeling disappointment, but it propels them to seek the lessons inherent in the experience. They might begin to reimagine their business model, explore adjacencies they hadn't considered before, and seek new partnerships with a renewed spirit of determination. The perspective that this difficulty is temporary and that a greater plan is unfolding, even if not yet fully understood, empowers them to take the next step, even when the vision of the future is cloudy. This is resilience in action, not the absence of falling, but the ability to get up, learn, and move forward with renewed purpose. Another angle to consider is the profound impact of this prioritization on stress management and the maintenance of mental and physical health. The constant pressure to perform, to be always on and available in the modern world, generates a level of anxiety that can be debilitating. By establishing God as a priority, a natural invitation for rest and reflection arises. This pause is not a sign of weakness or neglect, but an intentional act of recharging and realignment. Reserving time for meditation, prayer, or simply contemplative silence allows the mind to release accumulated tensions and the body to let go of emotional burdens. Consequently, the ability to handle daily demands improves remarkably. The individual becomes less reactive to stressful situations and more proactive in preventing burnout. This preventive approach to health, anchored in spiritual priority, is not an escape from reality, but a powerful way to equip oneself to face challenges with lasting vigor and clarity. Let's now imagine a professional who, under intense deadline pressure, begins to show physical symptoms of stress, such as insomnia and headaches. By intensifying their practice of putting God first, they may be led to reevaluate their schedule. This reevaluation does not mean abandoning responsibilities, but seeking a more balanced and less draining way to fulfill them. They might delegate tasks they previously insisted on doing alone, learn to say no to commitments that would unnecessarily overload their schedule, or simply find moments of quiet to reconnect with themselves and their source of inner strength. This paradigm shift, driven by the priority given to the divine, results in a significant improvement in their overall well-being, allowing them to resume their activities with revitalized energy and a more serene perspective, capable of handling challenges without compromising their health. A frequently underestimated dimension of divine prioritization as a success strategy lies in its ability to refine future decision-making, going beyond mere reaction to crises and proactively shaping the course of one's life. By internalizing the belief that a higher intelligence plans and oversees, an individual develops a keen sensitivity to discern genuine opportunities from seductive distractions. This manifests in the ability to anticipate trends, identify market niches before they become saturated, and invest resources, time, money, and energy in ventures with long-term growth potential, instead of getting lost in passing fads. This forward-looking vision, fueled by a deep spiritual connection, allows a person to operate with a sense of purpose that frees them from the trap of incessant searching for external validation or instant gratification. Observe, for example, how a marketing professional who dedicates daily time to reflection and spiritual connection might, instead of simply following the latest social media trends, begin to perceive an underlying movement in society towards more conscious and ethical consumption. This insight, which may not be immediately apparent to other market observers, empowers them to redirect their campaigns and strategies to communicate the intrinsic value and sustainability of products, anticipating a demand that is still forming. The decision to invest in advertising, focused on positive social impact, for example, is not made based on short-term data, but on a deeper understanding of emerging values, guided by an internal compass that points to what is fundamentally right and lasting. Furthermore, the practice of putting God first fosters a mindset of selfless service, which paradoxically attracts more prosperity and success than the selfish pursuit of gain. When the primary focus is to serve a greater purpose and contribute positively to the collective well-being, the fruits harvested tend to be of a richer and more sustainable nature. This translates into the creation of genuine value for customers, employees, and society at large. This type of enterprise, built on foundations of integrity and generosity, generates loyalty, trust, and a solid reputation that become invaluable assets in the long run, far surpassing the fleeting benefits of purely transactional strategies. Consider the case of a business leader who, instead of focusing solely on maximizing profits for shareholders, decides to reinvest a significant portion of profits in the development of local communities and the training of their employees. This decision, which might seem counterintuitive from a purely short-term financial perspective, tends to create a virtuous cycle. More engaged and skilled employees produce more and better. Prosperous communities become more robust consumer markets and sources of talent. And the company's reputation for social responsibility attracts customers and investors who value these principles. This approach, grounded in the generosity and long-term vision inherent in divine prioritization, builds a more resilient and truly prosperous business, capable of generating a lasting positive impact. Instead of an aggressive pursuit of resources, a natural flow of abundance emerges, attracted by genuine contribution. As we unfold the complex layers of this approach, the convergence of principles that might have seemed disparate at first becomes increasingly palpable. The journey through strategic clarity and strengthened resilience reveals an underlying pattern. The elevation of priorities is not a mere intellectual exercise, but a profound activation that reconfigures our interaction with the world. We are unveiling how the internal compass, when calibrated by a transcendent north, avoids the pitfalls of impulsive decisions and merely defensive reactions, guiding instead towards paths of creation and sustainability. Resilience, far from being a simple ability to withstand impacts, emerges as a dynamic force, an engine that transforms adversities into foundations for continuous advancement. It is as if the individual threads of a tapestry, once disconnected, begin to intertwine, forming a pattern of beauty and solidity that becomes increasingly evident, indicating the robustness of the revealed design. At this stage of our exploration, it is fundamental to recognize how these different facets are interconnected, not as isolated points on a diagram, but as pulsating veins of the same organism. The keen insight to discern future opportunities, the generation of value that echoes beyond immediate transactions, and the unshakable ability to flourish on arid soil are not isolated achievements, but manifestations of a unified force. We can perceive that the strategy of putting the divine first is not about a single action, but about a state of being that permeates all actions. It is the conjunction of elements that, by merging harmoniously, create a unique resonance capable of permeating and transforming the totality of the human experience. Just as a river, by collecting water from multiple tributaries, gains volume and force to shape landscapes, the ideas we have explored converge to create a flow of transformative power. Reflecting on this trajectory, we begin to glimpse with greater clarity how the simple yet profound reordering of priorities can unleash immeasurable potential. This is not a secret formula or a code to be deciphered, but a qualitative change in the essence of how we approach our own existence and interaction with the universe. The insights accumulated up to this point paint a picture that unequivocally points to a horizon of authentic and lasting possibilities. Now we are approaching the culminating point where the sum of these parts reveals itself to be greater than their individuality, preparing the ground for the definitive understanding of the scope and implications of this perspective. The clarity that is forming before us is not that of a detailed map of an unknown land, but that of a guiding star, firm and constant, that illuminates the path ahead.